I've never been afraid to call myself a writer, even when I was a kid. I took actual typing classes on actual typewriters because, typewriters. Except that I spent almost all my time and energy doing other kinds of work for pay. I mean, working is exactly what I'd advise any young writer. Get jobs, change jobs, gain experience, live life, have something to write about. But I guess I got caught up in respectability of one sort. Thus I surprised myself and hardly anyone else just a couple years ago by deciding that I'd give writing the best part of my time and ability, that I wouldn't go back to teaching as my primary human endeavor. I haven't. It's been going really well.
A really important turning point for me was when I wrote and directed my first short film at this short film workshop. It was back in 2018, and I had been thinking about my path and my future a lot. I pitched an idea, I wrote it right there and then I directed it, and it was a really liberating feeling. Before you do something like that, you're thinking of all the ways it can go wrong. And after that, I just thought of all the other things I can do, because I kind of broke the barrier.
The very first time I wrote a short story, nothing happened. But the second time was magical. The first time I recall as being in the 3rd grade, but it could just as well have been the 2nd. My teacher back then asked the class to write a short story. It only had to be about a page long. And so I did. I was not known for being a quiet kid back then, and I rarely paid much attention in class. I just wrote something half-hearted and silly, like I usually did. But then, when the assignment was done, my teacher chose to read aloud one of the stories, the one story she found to be the best out of the lot. And that wasn't mine. Something in me found that infuriating, something deeply competitive that I don't think I've felt to that degree ever since. I then wanted to hear a story of my own creation read aloud like that, so bad. So the next time my teacher asked the class to write a story, I was all over it. I spent the entirety of those 2 hours in class and even more hours at home just writing on a science fiction inspired story. I can't even remember what the actual story was about, but I recall the feeling of inspiration that rushed through me, and then the pride that filled me when my teacher chose my story.
I think maybe the biggest turning point was while working in LA, and everybody has a therapist and a psychic there. So I was seeing my therapist and telling her about a novel that I was working on, and she said something like, "Why don't you go back to school and get your master's degree in creative writing?" And I was like, "Can people do that?" And off I went.
I think one of the main turning points in the recent years has been giving up my education in Aalborg University in order to spend all my time with Southgate, and by that also spending all my time with writing.
An epiphany is like something that's supposed to change everything about your life, and yes, it can feel like that. What we don't think about is that an epiphany is basically a discovery that changes you. So yes, an epiphany can be a small change. It doesn't have to be drastic, and it doesn't have to be, again, this grand thing that we all think of, that a lot of us haven't experienced, and then we feel bad that we haven't experienced it. So don't feel bad, because it's normal. Every week, every month, maybe even every day, I learn something about myself, which is great. I discover new things. I discover new things about writing. And this week I've experienced one of my favorite epiphanies. The only constant is change. We're getting real deep now. This week I haven't felt like myself. And you know what? It's okay. It happens. As for my writing epiphany, it's basically you have to do you. Extra epiphany time! It's also related to writing, and it's also related to everything else that you can possess, meaning skills, meaning things. And I think it's very beautiful. If you have a cake, and it's a delicious cake, You know it's delicious. You've put so much hard work into baking it, and it's amazing, and it's a carrot cake. But if someone else comes along and they have another delicious cake that is actually a chocolate cake, all of a sudden, that doesn't make yours not delicious, okay? They can both be delicious in different ways. No matter what other cake comes along, don't disregard yours. That's all.
Let me tell you.
I'm working on a very suspenseful thriller, and I generally find that when I want to write suspense, the best way to do it is when even I don't really know what's going to happen. Well, obviously I do because I decided on it, but when you can kind of forget it and put yourself in the reader's place, and every sentence will be a question of what's gonna happen next.
Wow. Okay. I thought I would read you some of the titles of short stories that I have first. Okay. A Bridge to Nowhere and Other Fitzy Stories. Pam's book. Crutch. Virgin. Spatni Voda. Der Schokoladenmann. The Cellar Bugs.
A few moments later.
The Navigator. Bergamot Station. The Corn Maze. 23 Steps. The Right Way. Dog Mom. The Mulchers. Vegas Trilogy. The Tile Room. 23 Steps. What? The Car. The Door. The Grunions. The Sixth Dimensional People. Free from the Knots. Oh, not just one knot. Free from the knot.
One eternity later.
Out of the quarry. Hockey. Loathsome creatures. Mothers. The Summit. Scratch. Slides. Skinny. Firefly stigmata. Summer storm. Equation. To be a friend today. Bedwetter. And the forest.
And then I have a folder here with the titles for my novels. Army Brats, Cold Like Winter, 7 Minutes Past Saturday, Dead Mermaid, Dear Starfish, Stupid for Boys, and The Department. Those are some projects that I've worked on. Thanks for asking and sending me down that rabbit hole. That was fun.
I think he loves me. Yeah, I got you. I got this on camera.